many years now, Rakhem? Like 10?
12 years.
12 years. This brother is incredible. Right now we live in the province of Ontario, and in Toronto, the divorce rate's about 52% for first marriages, over 60% for second marriages, and over 80% for third. If you look at the divorce rate in Quebec, it's insane. So when we look at models of monogamy, polygyny, polyamory, polyandry, we know something's wrong in our community. So this brother is a metaphysician, an author, and one of the most incredible men I know, a mentor, a friend, a colleague, and we wrote a book together. And he's up here from North Carolina. Can we give our brother a round of applause? So with no further ado, I'd like to give you our brother, the legend, Rakhem Saku.
Peace and blessings. Thank you.
Hey.
You straight? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, much thanks to Brother Victor for having me up and having, faith in the studies of Juju Mama. My name is Rakhem Saku, also known as Carl Stevens. I run a company called Juju Mama with my wife, Kenya Stevens, okay? Juju Mama is basically a online school for relationships, metaphysics, self-empowerment, etc., okay? Now, some of you all may have seen us, on social media lately. And if you have, it's probably because we have a reality show pilot out. So it's my wife and I and some of our partners and stuff like that. But basically, the reality show talks about our coaching practice and how we coach couples who want to expand into open relating. Okay, and so that's the primary subject matter of today's topic is open relationships, sexuality, and just talking about the relationship dynamic in general. Okay. One thing I want to say before we get started is, the key to a talk like this is that you all ask questions. The bottom line is they're very specific questions that we're all going to have, and we want to leave here knowing, either Rakhem is dropping some things that are useful or he's full of shit. But if you don't ask the questions that are key to you, then you're not going to know. So let's not leave this session, this lecture with any gray area, okay? A little bit of background on me. In terms of how I got into all this stuff, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, about 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia. Bottom line is, when I was 7 years old, my mother, who played a lot of tennis and hung out with her friends a lot, went to a sports bar, walked into the sports bar, and she saw my father sitting at the table with a white woman. He was supposed to be in school studying for some test for his master's. And there we go, the saga begins, right? My introduction into monogamy, my introduction into the standard American family, the standard Western cultural family, right? So she comes home, falls on the floor, I'm like, what is going on? She tells me to go upstairs. They commence to arguing, all right? Bottom line, divorce. It's basically hell from that day on, those two fighting, those two bickering, and me and my brother are kind of dealing with that, the fallout of that. Fast forward to where we are now, right? The bottom line is, when you look at Western culture, when I say Western culture, I'm talking about Canada, I'm talking about the United States of America, all of Europe, right? Monogamy dominates, right? But what do we see with monogamy? We see dysfunction everywhere. Bottom line, right? We see not only broken families and broken communities, but we see a lot of sexual abuses and sexual assaults. We see a lot of, people, men and women, who are outside of a family structure. And if they're outside of a family structure, they're also outside the community structure. And if they're outside the community structure, it's a problem because, as Victor was talking about in his speech today, in terms of, dealing with the youth, those people who are outside of that family and community structure create a problem for the families and communities that they are in and around, okay? So we have to look at the foundation for, what really is the key to thriving as people, as a community, as families. And the key is relationships, right? So, Rakhem, you're talking about open relating, you're talking about polyamory. How does that actually help the relationship dynamic in the United States, in Canada, in the Western world? The real question is, and I'll ask this to everybody here, name a few essential components that are a part of and inherent to monogamy and monogamous marriage? Like when you think of monogamy and monogamous marriage, what comes to your mind in terms of something that pretty much automatically goes with that? Anybody have any, can you draw any correlations to monogamy? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Possession?
Possession, okay. Anything else?
Expectation of one. One being the expectations.
Okay, expectation of oneness. When I think of monogamy, I think of, and again, you know, my background, I'm a metaphysician, right? So when you operate in three-dimensional reality, there's going to be what? There's going to be one side of the coin and the other side of the coin. So when I think of monogamy, I think of infidelity. When I think of monogamy, I think of people who cannot tell the truth, by definition. When I think of monogamy, I think of divorce. You know, if I tell you there's a couple next door and they were married for 10 years and one spouse cheated on the other, is anybody surprised or shocked by that kind of news? No, you're not shocked by it. Why? Because it's a standard thing that happens in our society. Divorce, separation, broken families are an inherent part of what monogamy and monogamous marriage is. Okay? Now, people might say, well, we need more education, or we need more training. Why, if we're supposed to be monogamous as a species, would we need so much education and training around being who we naturally are, which is monogamous? Well, the answer is because we're not that way, right? The way human beings are is we are communal. We share everything, and when we share everything, that's when we are at our absolute best. Another name for sharing everything is what? Is we are a loving species by nature. Meaning if you give us the choice whether or not to share half of our sandwich with somebody else who's starving, our natural proclivity is to share half our sandwich with somebody who's starving. Our natural proclivity is not to just keep it to ourselves and allow that person to starve. But that's essentially what monogamy says. Monogamy says, well, I've got what I need in terms of intimacy, in terms of my family, in terms of my resources. I'm not going to share some of the essential things that I have with people on the outside who might be in need, right? So that's how I get to open relating. I get to open relating because it's the only relationship style that's not about sex. Let me ask you the question, what defines you as monogamous, if you are monogamous? Or what defines a couple as monogamous?
Only sleeping with their partner.
Yeah, it's sex, how you behave sexually. Is there anything else that defines you as monogamous besides how you behave sexually? The food you eat, the number of kids you have? Like, what else defines you as monogamous? Sex. What defines you as polygynous? You know what polygyny is? One man, many women in a marriage. What defines you as polygynous? Sex. So if you are a man married to multiple women and you only have sex with your wives and your wives only have sex with the one husband, then you are polygynous. Nothing else defines you as polygynous except sex. If you're polyamorous, which is different than open relating, if you're polyamorous, what defines you is your sexuality. Meaning, I'm allowed to have sex with multiple people, and I actually do that. Therefore, I am poly. Open relating says, I can do what I feel is authentic and natural for me. And not only can I do that, but I stand firm in my truth and my authenticity in that. Meaning, there's no need for me to bullshit you or anybody else about what the fuck I want for my life. That's what open relating is. That is the essential key to the health of families and communities. Can we tell each other the truth about who we are, about what we desire, about what it means to be a human being, a spiritual being? If you can do that, then you're open. True or false? 9 out of 10 monogamous couples, if the woman sees a man on the train and gets wet at his sight because she's attracted to him, can she tell her husband that? No. That's why I say embedded in monogamy is the lie. embedded in monogamy is the bullshit. You cannot, under any circumstance, be honest with your partner when you're in monogamy. There are a few exceptions, but those are few and far between. The divorce rate is what? 50%. The sexless marriage rate is what? 70%. The infidelity rate is what? Depending on your source, between 40 and 66%. The desired infidelity rate, meaning when they ask people, if you know for a fact you'll never ever get caught, God swears to you you won't get caught. Women said 85% of the time, yes, I would cheat. Men said 95% of the time, yes, I would cheat. So I've written a book called The Art of Open Relating, which talks about open relationships. I've also written a book called Finding Male Sexuality. Okay? The reason why I wrote that book is because one of the major challenges with men and with women is that we just don't understand sex. So let me ask a question. Women, what type of orgasm represents your potential as a woman during intercourse with a man or your partner? What type of orgasm should be the standard for you?
What do you mean by that?
Is it supposed to be like internal or clitoral?
Like clitoral orgasm.
Okay.
So clitoral is a type of orgasm.
Yeah, but most women, I'm going to say about 70% women only can have clitoral. They don't understand the understanding of internal orgasm,
Right.
right? So
those women, what do you think the percentage is of women who have intercourse with a man and during intercourse with a man? What percentage of those women are orgasmic?
maybe 20%.
Yeah, maybe 20%.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just we'll stick with clitoral orgasm for a second. If only 20% of women are orgasmic during intercourse with a man, true or false? Are those women happy? True or false?
Not necessarily.
Who is the goddess of sex? Anybody know? Who's that?
No, she said Aphrodite.
Yeah, Aphrodite, the goddess of sex. Or in Yoruba, Oshun, or in the Kemetic, Heteru. So, sexuality is governed by what? The female. Sex is a feminine principle. It's governed by a feminine principle. Meaning if there's no Aphrodite, there's no fucking. I mean, unless somebody can think of a male deity that governs sex. And I'm not saying the men don't have sex, the male deities don't have sex, but which male deity do you think of that governs sex, that's sexual? Who's that? Victor, the God. Obatala incarnate. Yes, brother. Besides Victor. No, it's the woman. So, you mean to tell me that one of the major components to being feminine, the feminine nature of the female species, the female human, is sex, and only 20% of all these women are having intercourse and having orgasms with a man, or are having orgasms during intercourse with a man? If I told you that the masculine governs consciousness and will, and the feminine governs power, and I told you the women in our communities are not happy because they're not orgasmic, and we know it takes power to make anything happen, is anybody surprised that shit ain't getting done in any community that we're a part of? How are you going to have economic empowerment? How are you going to have strong spiritual centers? How are you going to have strong families and communities and there's no power available? If I unplug this thing right here, what happens to the computer? Shuts down. So power is a prerequisite to do anything. Yes, the masculine component will means somebody's got to say, let's do this. That's the male job. That's the masculine job. Over here, over there, over there. But if the woman doesn't want to do shit, then nothing's getting done. She's like, I'm not going anywhere. Why? Because I'm not happy. Well, what's going on? Da, 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 da. I'm your man. Da, da, da. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Why isn't she feeling it? Because she knows what sex is. How many people believe that when women get married, they get married usually to the men who were the most sexually satisfying to them?
If that was our choice, maybe, but I don't know if that's always happening.
No, it's hardly ever happening. The men you want to marry that blew your back out and had you coming all over the place, they're doing the same thing like 10, 20 other women. They're not trying to settle down. Why? For the reason why I wrote that book. Because most men don't understand sexuality. Most men don't understand that I can send her sexual energy and make her wet, make her orgasm, not even touching her. Oh no, Rakhem, you got to do like a clitoral rub technique. Lick your fingers like this, brother, and rub her clitoris, and that's what she's looking for. Really? Even for women who don't know the various types of orgasms, if I give you the choice between a clitoral orgasm and a full body orgasm, which one do you want?
Full body. Number 2.
Number 2. And how do you want it? Back to back to back to back to back, motherfucker.
Amen.
Now, how many women are getting that consistently? Based on the fact that vibrators are one of the top selling appliances in the world, not a whole lot. So you mean to tell me we have happy women in our society? Why do 70% of divorces, why are 70% of divorces initiated by women? Because y'all not happy. And when you even smell bullshit from your man, divorce papers, boom, peace, brother. You text who? Divorce. You looked at who? Divorce. You can always tell the women who are having great sex in their relationship, in their marriage, they just seem to be a bit more tolerant. They're like, girl, why are you still with him? Why? You know he's no good. He might not be no good over there, but he's good at midnight. He's spectacular. So that's not the reason why women stay with men. But what I'm saying is there's a major epidemic in our community where, you know, we just don't understand what sexuality is. Why? Answer me this. Why does it make sense that you grow up and that there's no formal 2, 3, 4 year training around sex? I can speak to my experience. I didn't know shit about sex. Except for watching, I learned about sex watching HBO. There was a show called The Hitchhiker. And that was the first time I saw 2 people having sex. Because there was no internet, there was no YouTube and YouPorn and all that stuff. That's where I started learning to have sex.
You grew up in slavery.
But no, there's no knowledge, no wisdom. We see it's a 50% divorce rate. Where are the formal mandatory classes on how to operate as a husband or a wife in marriage? How to make a marriage last? I mean, how is a man supposed to learn how to help a woman achieve maximum orgasmic potential? How does a woman even know what it is? How many women in this room have experienced full body orgasm during intercourse with a man? Yeah, if you gotta think about it, then the answer is nope. I mean, it should be like yes, yes, yes. I've experienced that motherfucker.
I'm sure you did.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it, brother.
Actually, so there was a point in time where the church kind of controlled everything.
Mm-hmm.
Controlled who got married, babies, right to the grave. And the government kind of took the place of that control after a while, in terms of laws that were kind of created. And the direction that things are going right now, in that things are becoming more androgynous between male and female.
Right.
And there's still a lot of people who have grown up in the church who their sexuality is something that's never discussed. There's obviously no training or understanding of that. And but yet in society, we live in a very sexualized society. You look around you, there is all these imagery of sex everywhere. But yet, it's almost like we're in this conflicting state consistently. And there's a lot of people who are sort of stuck in that conflict within their minds because of what the images that they see around them, and then what they're being told or what they may have been conditioned growing up most of their lives as to this is, you don't have sex till you get married, and you somehow on your wedding night you're going to know what to do, you're going to figure it out, and then live happily ever after. In what you're saying, like, how do you combat that type of programming for somebody who's lived like 50 years?
Yeah.
With that kind of conditioning, who's never had an interpersonal relationship with a partner.
Right.
And now they're kind of like stuck. And there's a lot of people in our society that are stuck in that state.
So to answer your question, the short answer in terms of how to combat it is you need to be initiated and you need a trauma. Right? So when I say a trauma, I mean something radical has to be done to start to get you out of the old mindset. Right? That's what initiation is. Right? When you get initiated, you're being initiated out of a mindset. But here's the problem. Okay? Just everybody think about this. Take a deep breath. And out. And tell me from that the church knows anything about marriage. Who here believes the church founded marriage?
No.
The church, they weren't down with marriage. They resisted marriage. Though there was sex within the church that supported it, but the bottom line, the church is not they're like, fuck marriage. Why? Because they hated sex. So they want everybody to basically be chaste and like priests and pastors are today, especially in the Catholic Church, basically celibate. So that's number one. Number two, how many people believe that the church knows anything about masculinity or manhood or femininity or womanhood? Like, do I go to a church to gain the principles of manhood? Number three, when you look at Christianity, who are the primary two characters in Christianity, in biblical Christianity? Jesus.
And God.
And God. Right. Which one of those two is married?
Zero.
But Jesus is married to the church.
Oh, metaphorically.
And that's what the church wanted. They wanted you to marry to the church.
Yeah.
Which one of those two figures impregnated a woman who was already with a partner?
Well, God didn't do it. He sent the Holy Spirit. Send him back.
Jesus.
Does anybody have any doubt of what the Holy Spirit actually was in that act?
All right.
It's called a penis.
Yeah.
Was Mary with somebody?
She was with somebody.
Yeah.
Married.
She was with Joseph. And God fucked her. I mean, you can paint it however you want. But all I'm trying to say is, when you look at Christianity, the foundation of the religion has shit to do with marriage. Has nothing to do with fidelity or honoring the fidelity of man and woman.
It might sound funny, but when you read that scripture, she's talking to someone physical, and the angel that she's talking to is physical. And so if she's talking to someone who's physical and that physical being comes upon her, you know,
Come.
Comes all upon her.
you have to realize that it was a physical act. And a lot of the way it's portrayed, a lot of the way that Christians look at it, they spiritualize it.
Right.
But in reality, she was committing adultery.
Exactly. I mean, because you have to do you got to do the mind game with yourself. You got to do the brain surgery on yourself and the psychological manipulation, just to be okay with that story.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of us don't think about it that way because we're just we want to accept it. We've been raised, it's been beaten to our head. But there's something happening subconsciously where there's a conflict. You see what I'm saying? Like, wait, Jesus wasn't married, but he was hanging with this sister who was known to be a prostitute. Okay, forget that. God wasn't married and is all powerful, can just create whatever he wants, humans, cities. Yet, he impregnated and had sex with a woman who was already with a man, as if there were no other human women on the planet that were single and available for God to do that with. You see what I'm saying? So the mental gymnastics you got to do just to accept that is, and the fact that we kind of bury it and don't let the struggle be like in our conscious and awareness, shows the mental illness that we're dealing with as a people. So my point is, the church when it comes to marriage is nothing. There's no, they weren't down. The highest divorce rate, the highest secular divorce rate in the United States is amongst born-again Christians. I mean, that's just a fact. The lowest divorce rate is amongst in the Middle East. The divorce rate is what? 4%. But we know why that is, right? Because women are basically slaves in the Middle East and have no choice and are suppressed. But which country in the world has the highest search for homosexual porn? No, not the U.S.
Saudi Arabia?
Iran. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What is going on? let's the metaphysics now. What happens? Suppress the feminine. Like, fuck up the masculine. And again, if the men over there want to fuck men, that's cool. But it's all down low in the Middle East. All down low. So, I'm not impressed with their 4% divorce rate. But most of the men, because they shame women, because they suppress women and women's sexuality, basically just going out and fucking other men as a way to make up for what they're not getting at home. And do you think that's actually working for them? No. So no, the church, modern day religion, that we can't look to those institutions for anything having to do with sex, marriage, fidelity, any of that. But again, to answer your question, the way you address it is through a trauma, is through initiation. So you got to challenge your beliefs. You write those beliefs down. What do I believe about marriage? What do I believe about human sexuality? What do I really want? No, what do I really want? No, what do I really, really, really want? If nobody judges me, if God doesn't judge me, if nobody, what do I really, really want? And face that, look at that mirror. And then the healing can begin. Then the journey begins. But until we do that, there's nothing going to, it's going to be the same thing. Other questions? Comments? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I just thought of a question, and that is, what do you think the reason is, or do you think that there's a specific reason as to why animals are practicing things that you're suggesting that people should be practicing, like the way that one monkey or one gorilla will be responsible or hold down a certain amount of female monkeys or of their same species, or one, you know how a lot of animals, that's how it would be, a one male and a lot of females, and another male animal would have to come and challenge that male animal to claim responsibility of all the females. So my question to you is, do you think there's a specific reason why animals are doing that, and you're suggesting that us as human men should be doing that as well?
So are you basically saying that, like gorillas, for example, they're polygynous and therefore we should be polygynous?
I'm saying that as one species, regardless if it's an animal or a human, it's one consciousness. So I'm kind of trying to understand as to what the reason behind animals doing something that you're suggesting we should be doing as well would be.
Well, first of all, most animals are
Not brainwashed.
That's right, they're not brainwashed. Most animals are, polyamorous in some kind of way. You know what I mean? Like, the only primate, the only, monkey, species that's monogamous is called a gibbon. Gibbon. Gorillas, they're at the very least polygynous, kind of polyamorous. Bonobos, polyamorous. Chimpanzees, polygynous, polyamorous. So when you look at most species, only 4% of mammals are monogamous. So, yeah, I think as human beings, we do function in a similar way to most animals. However, the difference between us and, say, a gorilla, who do you think has a bigger penis? Me or a grown gorilla? Incorrect. Anybody know how big a gorilla's penis is on the heart?
Nope.
Good answer. Because if somebody would have said yes, I would have had to make a phone call.
Yeah.
No, gorillas have extremely small penises. And the reason why is because they're not very sexual animals. Okay? Meaning they tend to only have sex during certain periods of time. So for example, using them as an example, that's cool, but the question is, are human beings similar to that? Do we only have sex at certain times? No. We're very promiscuous. Like, we fuck all the time. And that's just throughout history. The other aspect of it is that the difference between gorillas and, say, lions and human beings is that the way our species advances and the way the strongest male is selected is selected by the female in the human species. And you know how she selects it? She selects it by her egg selects the strongest male. Meaning she collects sperm from multiple males, and those sperm go to war, and the strongest sperm, or the one she selects, is the one that is allowed to impregnate her. So, as human beings, we're not the type of species where the strongest male is selected based on physical strength. When you look at who runs the world right now, and for the past 100 years, does the warrior run the world right now?
Nope.
No. human beings are not built like that. You know, it's mostly, in terms of around the world, it's mostly like beta males, you know, males behind the scene, males with no physical strength whatsoever, right? You know, who was more powerful, Mustafa or Scar?
Mustafa.
Right. So he was the alpha male, and Scar was the beta. But Scar still managed to take over the kingdom.
Snaked
Hmm?
him. Because he snaked him.
Yeah.
He snaked him.
Yeah. So, you know, that's a story about human beings. So that's how we are as a human species. So, you know, it's important to draw those distinctions. Humans are just, the bottom line is we're just the most promiscuous species on the planet. Maybe us and the bonobos are the most promiscuous species on the planet. And as a result, we have some of the biggest cocks on the planet. Not the biggest, but you know, when you compare our weight and height, we have some of the biggest cocks by body weight and height compared to anything else on the planet. Okay? Does that answer the question?
It does.
All right.
Thanks.
Even if you look at the Lion King, when Scar took over the pride, shit got fucked up.
Yeah, just like it is today. Everything's fucked up today, right?
The beta male's in charge.
Beta male's in charge. So we got, in the United States, as you know, we got President Trump, you know, in charge. He's a beta male.
Yeah.
And again, when we look at, in terms of how I define an alpha male is a male who's accountable and responsible, who's willing to be just, right? He's willing to bring justice to the world, and he's willing to do it the same way to himself. So when he fucks up, he puts the punishment on himself as well. He's a solid communicator and understands the importance of commerce and value and goodwill amongst men and women. And he seeks knowledge, meaning he respects knowledge, meaning elders, experts, and he seeks knowledge. If you're a man and you're doing those things, and you're trying to gain proficiency in those things, you're an alpha male. It's not about, you know, who's got the biggest muscles and who can knock somebody out. That's not what an alpha is. Okay? So when you look at the Lion King as an example, when you look at Donald Trump, I mean, he's not any of those things. He's not accountable, he's not responsible. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't believe in goodwill amongst men. He's not willing to be just with the world or himself. And he doesn't care about knowledge and understanding. So he's a beta male. Okay? Other questions? Comments? Yeah, go ahead.
When did you start to, I guess, change your mind frame from, I guess, how you were trained as a child for one man, one woman? And how was that transition?
I started changing my mind frame when I was in Alcera Set, the Alcera Set Society in Washington, D.C. And that was my first exposure to, like, real life polygyny. Okay? So I was able to see that up close and personal. I was able to see one man, many women. As soon as I saw that shit, I wanted it. I was like, that's what I want. I want multiple wives. And that makes sense. It's such a great philosophy. Doesn't that make sense?
Why not stay single and just play around instead of getting married?
So let me address that. Again, what is marriage to you?
How it was taught?
Well,
One man, well, how it was taught? One man, one woman. No, I don't like the word monogamous anymore. Since the way you broke it down, don't make any sense, because you are right. In every marriage that I've, myself and everybody that I know, as you said, you know, we're always lusting and seeing and wanted more. Your parents too get divorced because, again, it's supposed to be one man, one woman, and it's always cheated. And I get that, right? But I mean, as a person, why get emotionally involved, get married, but still playing the field? Why not just be single and fuck around and do whatever you want versus doing the whole union, you know, getting married, saying the vows and all of that?
Okay, so if you and I decide to make money together, and we both have good ideas, we're bringing equal money to the table, do you feel it's a good idea for us to go into business together and to be a part of the same business?
That's what contracts are for.
Right, okay, do you feel it's good to enter a contracted union as a business?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I want to accomplish something with another human being for the rest of my life, I can enter a contract with them. The issue is that when you're infected with a monogamous mindset, the only thing you can think of when it comes to marriage and working together is sex. But the reality is, for me, marriage is more than sex. Marriage is business. My wife and I have a business together. We have kids together. We want to build a legacy together. The foundation of our marriage is spiritual. When we met on a blind date in Washington, D.C. Okay? A few weeks after that, we found the Osira Society in Washington, D.C. We went and got counsel from a couple of the priests there. They did the reading on our marriage, on our union, and they got Osir Tu Chayaz to Hudiyatep. And they said, they looked shocked. They said, oh, this is it's a spiritual union. You know, it's a spirit, like you guys are together, there's spiritual reasons for you all being together.
And they picked that up just through communication?
Well, they did that through readings, through oracles. Okay? So, what I'm trying to say to you is, if I'm going to do these things with another human being, it's smart to create a container for those activities, to raise my children in, etc., 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 to do my business with my wife, to pull finances, to support each other spiritually, to support each other emotionally. You see what I'm saying?
I hear you. So my question is, your partner, your wife,
Yeah.
did she know that you were that person? That you were into, let's say, polygamy or whatever you want to call it, polyamorous? Did she know that was your thing, that you want, you know what, I want to get married, but I also want to fuck other women? Was she aware of this before you guys got married? Was she the same as you? The same mindset?
So I didn't want polyamory.
Okay.
When we got married.
Before you answer that, Rakhem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sister Donna, how old are you, my sister?
In my 40s. Why?
Right now, we're all adults and we're dealing with relationship science and we don't even know the terms. Monogamy, polyamory, polyandry, polygyny. So
But no,
before
I
you
see-
even ask the question, we have to recognize the level of competence amongst us collectively as a community in terms of these basic Greco-Roman terms.
I hear what you're saying, brother, but to be honest, those words, not only for me, even for younger people, don't even, that's not, those words aren't even mentioned. You know what I mean? It's still new no matter how old I am. A lot of young people don't know those words. So I understand that. That's why Rakhem and yourself is around to talk about stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, you don't even hear people talking about it, because until I met you, I've heard the word polygamy, polyandrous or whatever you want to call it, but I haven't really studied it. And you know my background is about sex, because people don't talk about it. We are in a community that doesn't even want to say the word sex or fuck or sleep together. You know what I mean? So what he's doing is totally new to a lot of people.
But I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, so let's. I want to make sure this is important. So Donna, I mean, do you see what I'm saying in terms of, from my view, and what marriage is for me? There are like 20 other elements
And I get that.
that are important and that are really the focus of marriage. Like when you actually break down what percentage of sex is of marriage over, say, a 60-year marriage, I mean, realistically, what's it, like 2-3%? When you look at your time that you spend with your partner and what you all actually do together, sex is about, maybe 3%. I'm trying to be generous. In a 24-hour day, you know what I'm saying? I mean, assuming y'all having sex every day and let's say it's an hour, then, for your whole 60 years, then we give it a higher percentage. But we know that's not really going down like that. So let's just say it's about 3%. So you're saying, because within that 3% of my marriage, that instead of securing my family and my children and my business and my finances and my wife's emotional state and spiritual growth, I should just stay single, and she should stay single, just so we can experience part of that 3% out in the field somewhere.
I'm not saying that. It's just a question.
No, I'm just no, and I'm saying that I'm explaining.
I don't want to misconstrue
No, you.
Okay.
Sweetie, I mean that question is the same question. That's the number one question I get from everybody, and I'm trying to present it in a way that, because I know when I talk about this stuff, most people they don't get that, and we know how cognitive dissonance works, right? So why do advertisers spend money advertising every game, every NFL game, every NBA game? Because psychologists have told them that until they see that beer ad 7 times, they're not even receptive to spending money with your company.
It's true.
They got to see it at least 7 times. And when they see it, it's got to touch a part of them that's going to spark the kundalini, the root chakra. So they put that girl in the bikini right next to the beer can, right? Or they do something that's going to spark some outrage or something like that. So I'm explaining in a way because I got to break through the cognitive dissonance, not just for you and everybody here, but the people who are going to watch this later. Marriage and sex, there's so much more. And it's smart for us as human beings to create a container to get the rest of that stuff in there. It's not even logical for me to stay single just to experience 1 or 2% of the totality of my life. I'll be supporting my children from now until I leave the planet in some way, and my grandchildren. Like for me, I know I'm going to be with my wife for life. You know what I'm saying? Like if I know I'm going to be with you for life, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Let's put a contract, let's announce it to the world, so that we, not because I need the pressure to be loyal or to stay in the marriage, so we can actually create some momentum. If we're going into business together, let's announce the business. Let's advertise it. Let's go get a business license. Let's make an LLC or a corporation. Let's make this shit formal so we can get some stuff. If we never do any of that and just talk about these ideas, yeah, I wanna do stuffed animals, Rakhem. Yeah, me too. I'm thinking about that. If we never do anything formal, the chance of that stuff actually making money or us getting anything done is slim to zero. So that's why marriage is still important.
Gotcha.
Same thing with community. You know what I'm saying? Like it's okay to define our community and to say that, hey, we're all community in this room. Right? So that when somebody comes to me and I get a text, oh, somebody just fucked with Victor.
Marriage, love, relationships in a particular kind of way, especially when it comes to sex, and that probably leads to why the majority of us we can't even categorize like the terms or whatever they are, sexual terms.
Mm-hmm.
How would you, and I know you talked about it earlier, we sort of have to like trigger ourselves or train ourselves, but as a community, what else could we do to sort of train and support one another sort of as a community, and even trickling down to like the younger generation? Because me growing up, it's like, that's what you hear. Oh, don't talk about sex. Sex is dirty. You can't do this. And like, so the connotation you have around sex, to even explore anything about sex or any of the terms, it's very negative.
Right.
So what would be some recommendations or a recommendation from us now, let's say, to educate ourselves and even trickling down to our kids and for those of us that are older or grandkids to say, let's sort of start to shift the trajectory of how you view these things, because now it's going to stem not only from sex, it's going to stem into relationships and marriage and all other areas of our lives.
Right. I mean, so that's a great question in terms of, what can we do? Number one, I believe, is we do need to learn and educate ourselves, and not assume that we understand relationships, not assume we understand sexuality. So let's learn, educate, read, and expand our consciousness. That's number one. Number two, you have to, you got to be the change, right? You got to be like that real motherfucker who, when somebody asks you, how are you doing or whatever, you're okay telling them. What do you want out of life? What do you want out of your relationship? And you be okay telling them. One of the things that's inherent in marriage, who's married in here or been married? Okay. One of the things that's inherent in marriage is you have to keep up appearances. So I'll speak for me, okay? You have to look like everything's together in your marriage when you're out in public. Like, we could have just been fighting the car. We could have just strangled each other almost till death. But when we go into the family reunion or we go into the whatever, we have to dust off and smile, like, hey, everything's cool. You know what I'm saying? How's everything? Oh, yeah, it's great. All the bullshit, right? So we have to stop doing that. We've got to stop lying to each other and other people. Why? Because otherwise it'll be generational. Because your children, other children, are going to look at you all and say, oh, she's always happy. Her and husband are always happy. And y'all haven't had sex in 3 years. Or you haven't had an orgasm ever. You know what I'm saying? Or with your partner or whatever. Like, we gotta be upfront and honest about the real deal. But that takes courage. Like, very few people are willing to talk about the real deal with their lives. And that's the spiritual initiation. That's real spirituality, right? Can you tell the truth about who you are? Another way to phrase that is, are you God? Are you Goddess? Right? If somebody asks God a question, how's your marriage going? Or what do you want out of a relationship? What is she going to say? Is she going to bullshit? Or is she going to come with the realness? And we've got to start to get into that mode where we're willing to do that. But yeah, I think education, reading, watching videos, going to seminars like this, coming together as a collective and just having a real conversation. We just had, so as part of our company, Juju Mama Love Academy, 2 nights ago, and Victor, you were on, I don't know if you were on this call or not. Were you on the call? Say what? Okay. But we had a, so did you see what was going on with, okay. So, Kenya went through working with that couple. Yeah. So we have a process where, so we have a process where the couples in our, you have to be able to vent how you really feel. So one of the married couples in our group was going at it. You know what I'm saying? This bitch did X, Y, and Z. She didn't tell me she wanted to do this and this. Fuck that bullshit. Da, 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 da. She's posting this shit up. Yeah, I didn't know I didn't marry a real nigga. You know what I'm saying? And da-da-da, da-da-da. And then you come in limp and lame with it. Da-da-da-da. Right? But, so we give people room to vent the real deal. That's how people really feel. That's how we all really feel. Now, what's the difference between them and most of us is we all hold our shit in. Which manifests as what? Disease and mental illness. Okay.
And as well, they had safety. They did it in a closed group.
Well, so
it's still some punk shit.
Well, yeah.
But it's closer.
Oh, yeah. Well, so yeah. So whatever way you can deal with it, right? So the point is that we have to be able to be real about our situation and express that. And we know, and the brother, from the Osiris Trail understands, we acknowledge that's the ego. We acknowledge that's the person that's saying those things. The fuck you bitch and this and that, that's the ego, that's the person. You's a lame nigga, that's the ego, that's the person. Like, we acknowledge that. But you have to allow her and him to speak, and then you can bring in the wisdom. Then you can bring in the higher self and start to deal with it from a more rational, reasonable perspective. So we got to start to deal with our relationships in that way. how do you really feel about your man? You know what I'm saying? How do you really feel about your woman? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Don't you think some of the issues is the my man and my woman thing? Because a lot of people in the room right now will consider themselves conscious or spiritual, and we have a lot of black power folks and Wapians, Hebrew Israelites, Set, and why. Regardless, if I ask everyone inside the room here, how do you feel about oppression? Everyone will say oppression's bad. How do you feel about colonization? Colonization, imperialism is bad.
Right.
Everyone agrees that man shouldn't own land and water and minerals and resources, plant flags on the moon, say it's ours, give out passports, permissions to drive, because we should have a right to travel. But when you look at relationship science, it's one of the only things on the planet addition equals subtraction. When I say that, I mean, if you can't own the land, all these other things as a conscious spiritual people, why do you believe that you can own another person? And I think that possessive pronoun, that my wife, my husband, my man, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, that's where it begins. And we're coming to a rude reality that relationship science is one of the only things that impacts the recipients of welfare and the billionaire. The billionaires haven't figured this shit out. We just found out this year that Kevin Hart, a multi-millionaire, Jay-Z, almost a billionaire, was too afraid to tell their wife they want some of this shit on. Like imagine, to have that much of resources, power, and influence, and be scared to say, love, you on tour, you busy. Guess what? Some of my needs as a human being needs to be met. He was scared to do this. Couldn't set up a protocol. Probably has 3 personal assistants, handlers, concerts everywhere, but couldn't enter into a negotiation with his partner. So I think that that's one of the issues that we face as a community right now. And more importantly, a lot of people raise their hand in the room that they're married. How many people are here with their spouse? Is there anyone here with their spouse? So it also shows me something that people, no matter how they relate, we partner differently. There are many spouses at home handling the, like we support each other. There are many spouses handling the homestead while another partner's out and vice versa. But the fact remains that even couples that are together for 10, 15, 20, 30 years sometimes don't have the ability to manifest a business, any way to generate revenue together. Sometimes the only partnership is just the children. And there's nothing wrong with that. But once again, that ownership piece, I think, is a big issue that we face in our community.
That's major.
Individual.
That's major. That's our mirror reflection in terms of dealing with the whole slavery thing.
Indeed.
You know, the ownership of another human being. And people can dress it up however they want to. You do not own another human being. And all the justifications for why it makes sense for you to be checking up on your husband, checking up on your wife, you know what I'm saying? It's all bullshit, and we can talk about that later too.
I want to say speak to it.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, a few things, just for the people in the room. Can you just give the definitions of the, what I would call the 4 major food groups? There's monogamy or monogamous, which when you break down the word, it means they're playing a mono game on us.
Nice.
Right? And divide and conquer. So like you said earlier, if someone's messing with Brother Victor or Brother I'm Blind here or Cassette Effect or anybody, if you're not in a type of partnership where your partner is seeing a different man and comes to you and say, hey, somebody's messing with my man or my source of happiness, if you're in a home where it's mono game us, you're less inclined to reach out because that's not part of your cubicle.
Exactly.
Whether it's a cubicle in home or your apartment. You know what I mean? So there's monogamy and there's polygyny, which is, give them the breakdown.
Polygyny is one man who's married to multiple women, where that man is fidelitous to those women, and those women are all fidelitous to that man.
Right. There's polyandry.
Polyandry is the reverse, where there's one woman who has multiple husbands. She's fidelitous to those husbands, and those husbands are fidelitous to her.
And polyamorous.
Polyamorous means, you know, you as a person have multiple partnerships. Now, who that is strictly based on preference. But the other thing about polyamory is that it's also based on agreement. So it's basically your spouse or your girlfriend or whoever giving you permission to be, to have other partners.
So it's the permission part that's the most important, I guess. If that permission is not there, then you're considered cheating?
Yes. So with polyamory, if you're given permission, then it's considered consensual, multiple partnerships. If you're not given permission, then it's considered cheating. In polyamory, there is also cheating. It's not just monogamy. So if you and I have an agreement that we're married, and you could have one additional partner, and I could have one additional partner on the low, then I'm cheating. Open relating means, look, I love you, I know what you're about, you love me, you know what I'm about. You do you, because I trust in you, and I believe in you, and I love you, etc. And you're going to do whatever you think is best for you. And then I'm going to do me. And it's our love for each other that'll be the guiding principle. So I'm not going to go just, do something that I feel is going to endanger you. Why? Because of a protocol? No. Because I have love for you and me. You see what I'm saying? So that's what open relating is. The difference between open relating and the other ones you were talking about, brother, is that open relating is the only one that's not defined by sex. If I consider myself to be an open relator, and I never have sex my entire life because I choose to do that, then I'm still an open relator. Open relating is about choice, about authenticity. If I genuinely do not feel I want to be with anyone, or I just want to be with one person because that's really truly how I feel, then I'm an open relator because I'm choosing to do that. I'm not doing it out of fear of punishment, or fear of repercussions, or fear of talking to my mate and being truthful. If you have those fears, you're not open. You're operating in an institution that's defining how you should function, and if you break those rules, you will be castigated, punished, and put out on Front Street in front of your community. Go ahead, brother.
Another word breakdown is polyamorous. The word itself, poly, multiple, or more, which is love, and then us. And everybody here at some point has been in an open relationship, but we don't recognize it. And this is something that I spread myself and tell people, because when, that term, I'm single and fucking, right? Or single and fucking everybody, safe, right? You're there, you're doing X, Y, and Z with this person, and you're aware that the people that you're fucking are fucking other people, but you're both happy.
Right.
If you talk to single people that are going around doing your thing, they're happier than ever. They're happier than ever, and because there's no restraints. And they know that the people, they know that the people that they're fucking are fucking other people. But there's no shackles on it.
Right.
So it's just about getting people aware of the fact that you've already been in that type of situation before, and you're kind of you're locking yourself into something, you're forcing yourself into something, thinking that you can have the same kind of happiness, which may last for a while, but eventually it'll fade and you'll want to go back into that same state.
Exactly. And let me clarify the terms, right? So let me ask you guys, monogamy, what does that mean?
One-on-one.
It doesn't mean one-on-one.
It means cheating.
It means one. So true monogamous species like geese and bats, when geese mate and one of the mates dies, is he or she fucking anybody else? No, because they're monogamous. That means one partner, period, point blank. No attraction for someone else. No, I gotta keep my, my beak and my, what I'm saying? Because I don't want to, no, you don't even have the urge for it. That's what monogamy is. You see what I'm saying? Who here has had more than one sexual partner in their life? So, what they try to say is that you all are serial, just for people who are going away, you're serial monogamists. But that doesn't even make any fucking sense. That phrase makes no sense. Monogamy means one. Okay? What you are is you're serial polyamorists. Meaning you have many lovers throughout your lifetime. That's what polyamory is. Many lovers, many loves. But you're just doing it sequentially. You know what I'm saying? I'll do him for 7 years, then do him again, another one for 3, Then this one for 6 months because he was fucked up. You know, But when you go into, let's say you're a Christian, when you go into the gates of heaven, God rolls us in out like, I'm seeing 40, 50 motherfuckers on this list. Now you feel good about it because you did it sequentially. You see what I'm saying?
So we're using the words wrong.
The words are all fucked up. There's no such thing as serial monogamy. People try to redefine shit to make themselves feel good. There's no such thing as serial monogamy. That's like wet dryness or some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? No, you're a serial polyamorist. You date multiple people throughout your life. You date scores of motherfuckers throughout your life, but you do it one at a time. Congratulations. You're beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, good.
Okay, so I have a question. Earlier you had brought the point about when you are, when you're in a relationship and things aren't going right, a lot of people don't talk to it. So they actually just kind of keep to themselves and put on that show. And if what I'm understanding you're saying is that it's really important to make sure that you express that. So if you're not feeling good in a relationship, to do that, right? Openly.
Correct.
But then I was like, okay, that's fine. But then depending on who you're sharing that information with, might not be the best, because the people that you might be sharing the information with might themselves not be in the right space to give you proper guidance. But then you said after that, because I didn't get the microphone at the time, then you said you had a conversation with somebody and they were able to vent, but they were able to vent in a proper space where they have proper guidance and wisdom to be able to give them proper direction. Mm-hmm. So my question is, the first time you said, I was kind of like, well, you don't really want to tell everybody your business because you don't really know how they're going to give you the type of feedback, and that feedback that they might be giving you might be incorrect. So how then would somebody that doesn't have you on the phone to deal with that, they don't want to necessarily put it all out there because the information they might be getting back might be negative or incorrect or not wise.
Right. So here are the options. The options are, you can just agree that you're going to just talk between you and your partner. And say, hey, I'm gonna, you're gonna let me vent to you, and you can vent to me, and at least we're getting it out. So there might not be the quote-unquote expert there, but at least you're getting it out. That's the most important thing, just to get it out, and not walk around with it internally. I suggest, look, what are the most powerful entities on the planet amongst humans? Anybody know? Corporations. What are corporations? They're groups of people that come together with a common mission, usually to make money, right? So corporations have multiple, they're basically just big communities, right? So I suggest everybody kind of build your community. You gotta build a team. If you're on the planet doing everything by yourself, I don't know what the hell people think they're gonna get done by themselves. Like Victor said today at this thing, an African proverb, you can go fast by yourself or you can go far together, right? So you have to build your community. I suggest you do that. But absence community, at the very least, I would try to find somebody who's, a wisdom person.
Okay,
and just work on that.
That makes sense to me. But what you were saying before, like I was kind of like, you don't necessarily want to bring it to everybody because some people don't have that wisdom.
Yeah. No, let me just address that. Sure. Okay. So that's what I suggest. What did Lauryn Hill say in her MTV Unplugged concert? She said, we're all going through the same exact shit. So the issue that we have as human beings is the belief that somehow what I'm going through is different than what you're going through. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep quiet about my problems because I feel like I'm probably the only one who's having that kind of thing, and it's embarrassing. When the reality is, everybody's having the same quantity of issues.
It's more common than not.
We're all going through the same exact amount of stuff. So there's nothing really to keep quiet about. Now we can do that, it's cool, and I understand why to do it. But just so, in case you're in a situation where, you might be asked to speak and you feel compelled to speak in front of a group or whatever, just remember that. That's an initiation of itself. And everybody's gonna say, oh my God, you yelled at your husband. People just create this buffoonery. You see that? Oh, you called her STD? Oh my God, you nasty mother. Like, shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you a perfect motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? And get indignant with it. Because everybody's having the same human experience. Different quality, but it's the same. Quantitatively, it's the same. I know we're getting to the top. Yeah, go ahead.
So I apologize, I was a little bit late, but what kind of relationship do you have with your wife? I didn't get to hear that.
We're in an open relationship.
Okay.
Open. We were monogamous for about 10 years, a little over 10 years, and then we've been open for about 10 to 12. Hey, Victor, I know we're at the top. I don't want to go over. I'm thinking I'm already over.
No.
Anybody have any other questions?
No, we can have questions for.
Yeah, let's do questions.
One thing that that we haven't really touched on, and that is the numbers. So, women outnumber men. It's just a fact. In every statistic that I've seen, women outnumber men.
Yeah, it's
so,
okay.
From what I've seen, in the U.S., most black women tend to look at black men, but there are a lot of black men in the U.S. who are not available because they're incarcerated for whatever, and most people want to be in a fulfilling relationship, but the numbers are not necessarily in their favor.
Right.
If they want to be with a partner, and so the dynamic somehow has to kind of change in order for somebody to be able to find that kind of relationship that they're looking for.
Right.
And so, what that definition might look like, there's a broad scope of it, and society today just seems like every so often I hear a different combination that I've never really heard before. But what do you think about the numbers thing?
Okay, so a few things. How should I say this? So, brother, what's the brother's name in the blue? That was in our set? Kepra. Did you hear what the brother just asked?
Yeah.
So if we're at a ritual, and we're at the Sebek portion of the ritual, and the brother says that, what would be Sebek's reaction to that statement, or to that question? Any guess?
Who that?
Who that? And then it will be followed by laughter, right? Not because what you're saying it doesn't make sense, and it's not logical, and that it's not true for you. We're infected with a disease within the black community in the world, and it's called mental illness. And the number one thing that the mental illness is doing is it's affecting our identity. We're forgetting that we are gods on the planet. Okay? What that means is that I create my life. That's the title of this book I brought with me. I create my life. The statistic, what you're saying has truth. Is it an absolute truth? Absolutely not. What that means is, and I told this to Shayna earlier, I think she's gone, but what you, as a man thinketh, as above, in your conscious mind and subconscious mind, so below, as in reality. So if I believe those statistics, what's going to show up for me is a lack of viable male partners for these women out here in the streets. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm going to appeal to, since this is a conscious crowd, I'm going to appeal to your metaphysical and spiritual minds and say that you need to shift your reality and stop buying into what you've been told, which is that statistics and these quote-unquote facts, these alternative facts, you know what I'm saying, that you've been taught are true, are actually true. That's why you gotta understand what Donald Trump is doing. He's doing the same thing George Bush was doing when he was president. All you gotta do, if I keep saying the same thing, eventually it's gonna become your reality. So, is every woman on the planet or in the West without a husband or without marriage proposals? No. Why? Because some women expect that shit to pop off. Some women have a line of motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Suitors. Rings, marry me today, I'll do da 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 da. Why? Because that's her belief and understanding and perception. Now, other areas of her life might be fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. But I'm saying what you believe, what you think, as above, so below. So as spiritual people, I'm going to appeal to that, right? So that's my answer for that. Let's take the statistics as they are, as you presented them, and say, like, that's what it is. Well, there's a concept called the choice paradigm, where as men, we allow women to choose who they desire to be in partnership with. And the reason why is because if she doesn't choose me, but I choose her, it's a waste of time. Because if in her mind, in her heart, she really can't connect with me no matter how hard she tries, she will never, ever be able to get wet from me. She will never, ever be able to love and sacrifice for me the way we all need a woman and a queen to do. So I'm saying it to say, if we have multiple women, more women than men, then guess what? The brothers gotta step the fuck up. And women, you choose the men you desire to look after you and your children, if you have children or whatever. And those men will step up and do that. That might mean that you've been chosen as a husband and father figure by 3, 4, or 5 women. That's okay. But guess what? She might also choose another brother strictly for blowing her back out. Or strictly for spiritual guidance. Which might include sex. Or strictly to pay the bills and make her feel like a dime. Like, there's different reasons why women choose men. So, yeah, I mean, we can come together as men and we can handle the whole female woman population, no problem. The only time it becomes difficult is if I say I'm going to be the sole source for these 5 women, you're going to be the sole source for those 7. That's when it falls apart. Because they're going to be looking at each other like, I mean, I haven't orgasmed in months. Because he was with her last night, you know what I'm saying? Then he came in the next night, he busted the nuttles about this much semen that came out of his motherfucker. The dick was 75%, you know what I'm saying? Like, women, there's like a hard dick. Like a motherfucker came back from war. You see, like I'm about to just I'm about to destroy the yoni in this motherfucker. Like that kind of hardness versus I just got done fucking 20 nights in a row. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm coming to you, baby. She'll be like, what the fuck is this bullshit? I wrote the book, Men Don't Know Tantra. Who here is holding the seed consistently? Brothers, raise your hand. You're holding your seed consistently.
Talk about Tantra.
Tantra.
Solution.
So our ancestors, because we dominated life in the world, we figured out food, we figured out water, we figured out relationships, and we had what? Time on our hands. And we started what? Thinking about, meditating on the deepest shit that we could think about, which number 1 is sex. You know what I'm saying? And so we started getting into like what sex is and what it can be. And we said, you know what, we can use this power, this energy to do more than just come together for 20 minutes or 40, whatever people are doing. Like we can like channel this energy, you know what I'm saying? Like I can channel my sexual energy and hit a motherfucker across the street. I don't want people to think that the individuals, our ancestors, I'll make that assumption, who accomplished fucking amazing things, built the pyramids, I mean just amazing shit. I don't want you to think that those individuals were operating without knowledge of how to channel their sexual energy, such that it illuminated the mind and allowed them to understand and knowledge to do pretty much whatever the fuck they want to do. So they had the time and the insight to like really get into their sexuality, so that they started thinking about it. And the more you think about it, the more you dream about it. And you in your dreams coming up with stuff. And then you in your dreams meeting your partner, meeting this partner, and going back and talking to ancestors. And they're breaking this shit down. And before you know it, you got a science around sexuality. Let me touch you and bring you both to orgasm. Tantra. Let me control my sexuality and awaken the deep inner knowing that I know is there. Tantra. You know, let me have sex with these 5 women and not only not bust a nut, but energize them, shoot energy through my penis into their vagina, up into their heart, up into her mind, through her eyes, back into my eyes, down my channel. You know what I'm saying? And keep that shit looping. Fuck Six Flags. What the fuck is that bullshit? Our ancestors were on some real shit. So that's what Tantra is. That's happiness. That's science. You see what I'm saying? That's creative power manifested on the planet. So as men, we need to get into that. As women, you need to fucking expect that. Why? Because if you believe that there are men out there who are Tantra specialists and can bring out your sexual plateau as a woman, you will what? Attract that. That's the power of a woman. That's why the communities right now are fucked up. Why? Because she's not happy. So no one's gonna be happy, this motherfucker. I'm wrecking buildings. I'm throwing men in jail. I'm gonna do whatever. You know, I'm not saying she's doing this consciously. I'm just saying her, you know, all set, weeping. You see what I'm saying? Like just it's not right. She knows it's not right, and she cannot. She doesn't want to even, like, you know, energize this place. So she's going to allow it to just fall to ruin. So that's what Tantra is. It's mastering your sexuality as a man, as a woman. It's bringing those two energies together.
Is it breathing? Because a lot of women during sex don't know how to breathe. They stop. I mean, you know, but they're not breathing properly, or they're getting nervous. And as women, you know, everything's always in their head. They're just not in the moment of sexual pleasure.
Right.
So you have a person like that, her mind is busy, is constantly talking. How would you, or a tantric person, bring her to be in one, or to be in presence of making love or fucking or whatever you want to call it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of women that is just not present, and that's why they're not achieving orgasm.
Right. So breathing's a big part of everything. Martial arts, sex. If you're not breathing through life, you know what I'm saying? Then you like below the matrix in this motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? Because as you breathe, so do your emotions go. And so does your ability to think. Your IQ is directly related to your ability to breathe properly, right? So, yeah, as a man, you gotta know how to bring your woman out of her mind. So let's take another example. Your woman's upset, throwing shit, whatever. As a man, you gotta understand, like, how do I bring her back? You know, what do I say? What do I do? You see what I'm saying? To bring her out of that. So we have to do that anyway, not just sex. Let's bring it to sex. How do I stop her from thinking? One of the best ways a man can stop a woman from thinking too much is by showing and proving. So one technique that I use is I'll stroke her intently and rhythmically for a long period of time. What is going to happen, I don't care who your woman is or how much she thinks, what is going to happen guaranteed is she's going to stop thinking. And she's going to go into trance. She's going to black the fuck out and go to fucking Neptune. And she's going to wake up and you're still looking at her in her eyes, still with the same rhythm, the same force, and she's going to realize, I can relax with this brother. I don't have to think. He's got me. You see what I'm saying? Like, as a man, you got to show and prove. You know, you got to show and prove to a woman. Like, that's the best way to get her out of her head. If the worst thing I can do is let the power get cut off. If the power gets cut off, she's thinking about what? The bills. Next month, same time. Oh my God, this is when the power got cut. Next month, power. If I pay the bills every single time, month after month, year after year, guess what? She forgets about the bills.
It's gonna be something else. As a woman, it's gonna be something else.
But that's okay. But that's okay. But at least the bills, she's not thinking about the bills. But you asked about sex. So let me just I just deal with the sex aspect. She's going to, while we're making love, she's going to stop thinking. It is guaranteed to happen. There are other things that can be done as well. When she starts to orgasm, she's not gonna be thinking.
No, definitely not. But you know, because I'm just thinking.
There you go.
Right, I should stop thinking, right? For these women, right? Okay, so you're a professional, you understand women, and you understand, you pay attention, and you study, so you kind of understand what a woman is going through and what it is that she likes and don't like, right? But then for the other men who don't pay attention, and for the women who are not saying anything, you know, because come across so many women that only have clitoral stimulation, and a lot of time even a guy can't even give her a clitoral stimulation. It's after they're done, then as you do our own thing when he goes to wash up.
Right.
And for those women who can't even have an internal penetration orgasm, like true orgasms. And I mean, yeah, you're talking about, you know, talking like true from deep down to write it down and, you know, try to bring it to fruition. For those women who are just so stuck in their head and thinking, oh my God, you know what? I can't have it. So might as well just sit and give it. And the reason why I can say this, because in my 20-something years of marriage, I wasn't one of that person. I just did it just because it was taught that you have to have sex with your husband.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's until I leave that marriage and start, I guess, kind of understanding who Donna Savage is and what is it that I want and start reliving who I am, is when I start, you know, exploring more, let's call it that, right? And it's until I met another partner who was more spiritual, not as much as you, who taught me how to let go and let loose. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do in teaching women how to love themselves and to masturbate and to know your body, because until you know who you are as a person and understand your body, is how you can even, you know, tell your partner, just in case somebody as like yourself can't teach her how to enjoy herself, because we have to rely on ourselves as women to have that release. So as a man, right, how would you say to a woman who has never had an orgasm or just have an inclination of what an orgasm, but she's just doing her duty by just having sex with her husband?
So, first I would say, do you believe it's possible to have
Yes.
full body orgasm?
Yes, I do.
So let's say the woman says, no, it's not possible. So I have to what? Show her. Now, I don't show her through our interaction. I just show her examples of other women having it.
Okay.
I say, this is a woman having a full body orgasm. I allow her to talk to those women. You know, she'll say, what are you going through? Like, what's happening? She's like, I don't know, just fucking waves. Like, it's just, you know, well, explain like that. You know, let her talk to these sisters.
Okay.
So, why do that with her? Because if I allow her to see it and to discuss it, it becomes a belief. Oh, full body orgasm is possible. Phase 1 done. Phase 2. I wonder, can I have that? I don't know, but I want it. Very important we understand these dynamics of what's actually taking place.
Indeed. And on that note, you want to connect with the God Rakhem, you can easily...
And women are what? Power. And when you think about and dream about something, you have emotion behind it, you're going to what? Attract it. But then comes a skill. Then I got to say, when you attract something, do you recognize it for what it is, or do you judge it based on your other beliefs? I.e., judge a book by its cover or shoot the messenger. And so some brother walks up, and you're like, this uneducated motherfucker. Like, get out my face. She was like the rest of these motherfuckers. Not knowing that what? He might be what you were trying to attract to yourself. But if you didn't read my book and understand that your attractions and what you bring to you are all valid, then you're going to start throwing your money away. Everybody can be rich. You know what I'm saying? How many millions of dollars do y'all throwing away in opportunity? Fuck that motherfucker. He disrespected me. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that shit. $1 million. Boom. Gone. Same thing with your orgasmic potential. Mm-hmm. So as you attract gold to you, you gotta be tapped in the spirit or something. Like, wait a minute, let me not just diss this brother out the gate. I'm not gonna go fuck him, but let me breathe through it and let me just see what spirit says. Did I have a tingle? Did I feel something in my heart? Oh, I did kind of. When I really think about it, when I ignore the fact that he was dressed all tattered and fucked up and looked like my ex, who fucked me over, when I ignore that, I did kind of feel a little something. And then you go from there. Go ahead, Victor.
I was going to say, a lot of the questions and answers so far have been predicated on the masculine, feminine, and gender assignments, but how many women and men are we really dealing with? Quick question, there's a few sisters in the room. How many of you sisters actually immerse yourself in water today? Or did you do a masculine until you just take a shower so you had to move? You live in Canada. How many of you sisters actually let some breeze hit your yoni today? About half of y'all wearing pants because it's cold, right? So for the feminine, interacting with energetics like water, air, fire, how many of y'all spent some time in the tub with some candles this week? So femininity is something that has to be learned and taught, and same thing for masculinity. So we're dealing with over-masculinized women who are very masculine, and then we're dealing with beta men who, remember, half the prisons are filled with men that are dealing with domestic abuse situations. What is domestic abuse? It's when a man gets in his beta. He wants to emote on equivalent level as the woman that he's interacting with, as opposed to holding space and allowing her to vent, to shit, to process her emotions. You dig? So right now we're talking about orgasms and all these things, but it's very challenging. The propensity for a lack of orgasms in the feminine in North America is challenging because of those basic things. Sisters have to be on the move. You're in your head about bills. This man, my baby father, this, that. I gotta get on the TTC. It's cold. Wear this jacket. So you're locking yourself off from all things feminine, and then there's this expectation that you're gonna be able to go into your feminine like that, which is very challenging, even in southern climates, because folks are still dealing with some of the vicarious trauma of a lot of social and systemic issues. So I think what Rakhem says, and I hope a lot of folks will figure out a way to get the tape onto people, chop it up and edit it. But this information is very powerful because we spoke about Jay-Z, Kevin Hart, Bill Clinton's in the Oval Office.
All of them. Look at all the powerful men who just, you know. So look at Tiger Woods, for example.
Off his game now.
So listen, respect the science on this, for real, okay? Because I need men to understand this shit, okay? So Tiger Woods, he was fucking like 15 women, whatever, right? See, because you come to a crossroads in your life when you're trying to up level. Tiger Woods, in my opinion, was one of the most top athletes of his time, even though he was a golfer. So, and he has a tremendous amount of testosterone at that time, right? Which is why he was going through a lot of women, right? Because that was, in his mind, how he had to process it. So he's trying to be what? Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Mike Tyson. These men want to be what? The best on the planet at what they do. So Spirit gave him an opportunity to do what? To up level. So how that happened? It happened by him being exposed. So he's at the crossroads. He had a choice. He could put his tail between his legs and bow down to society and say, I was a bad boy and I shouldn't have women and I'm a sex addict. And when he said that, what happened? His testosterone shot down, which did not allow him to support his physicality, and then what happened was injury. He broke down. The same way Dwayne Wade broke down, the same way Bill Clinton broke down when they both faced those same exact crossroads situations. If Tiger Woods would have came out and said, yes, I fucked all these women, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love the yoni, I was wrong to not tell my wife. That was fucked up. It's some beta shit. I'll deal with that. Separate from y'all media motherfuckers. But yes, and I'll continue to fuck these women, but I'll work it out with them. No questions. Get the fuck out of my face. If he would have said that, like, the testosterone that would have been flowing through that motherfucker's nutsacks, he'd be up to like 30 major wins right now. You think he'd be hurt right now? If he would have crossed that, if he would have lived in his truth about who he was. I mean, if anybody on the planet deserved to have multiple women, again, I don't agree with the way he went about it. We're on the same page with that. Infidelity, lying to your partner, that's bullshit. But if anybody on the planet deserved to have multiple women, just in terms of what they were accomplishing, one of the first black billionaire athletes ever, the motherfucker was 32, and his wife is from Sweden and giving him no pussy. You know what I'm saying? No pussy to the number one motherfucker on a 32-year-old black man, fuck cabulation, a 32-year-old black man worth $1 billion? Think about that shit. Why are you saying I'm sorry to these lame, whack motherfuckers in the media who are getting no yoni, who haven't accomplished shit in their life but get a job and fucking work in a cubicle? You understand what's happening? Bill Clinton, the same thing. After Monica Lewinsky, what happened? A few years later, heart attack. Look at that motherfucker. Gray to the... Look at him before Monica, look at him after. Dwayne Wade, same thing. I was fucking with whatever, I got her pregnant. What, a year later, injured. LeBron's like, I'm out of this motherfucker, man. Think about it. That's why it's very important we understand these dynamics of what's actually taking place.
Indeed. And on that note, you want to connect with the God Rakhem.